I'm Teresa Carraggio, and this is Third Paradigm. My topic today is what is reality? And this will start off my series of the big questions looking at A House for the Soul and the Land Beyond Faith, the book that I have had in draft. And a couple of Halloweens ago, I challenged you to not only take a woman seriously talking about metaphysics and theology, but a woman wearing cheetah spots. Today, I'm doing the same with pigtails because I'm on my way to dance. Good luck with that. I'm going to be following the formula that I outlined in How to Have a Better Argument. But first, I'd like to start with some song lyrics that I found thanks to Guy Duperreault on his Spotify and YouTube playlist that I will have linked that I really recommend. This was his article, Goodbye Woke. It was fun while it lasted. And the song is Bill Callahan with The Freeze. I'm standing in a field of questions, as far as the eye can see. Is this what it means to be free? Or is this what it means to belong to the free? To be free in good times and bad? To belong to being derided for things I don't believe and lauded for things I did not do? If this is what it means to be free, then I'm free, and I belong to the free, and the free, they belong to me. Step 1. Frame an open-ended question with more than one answer. What is reality? Step 2. Like the people you're arguing with. Done. If I could fix you a blue martini and give you a foot massage, I would. Step 3. What does it matter? What would it change? For something that is hardly ever discussed, it's difficult to imagine any more important question than what is reality. Always, your success in a situation is going to be directly tied to how accurate your interpretation is of what's really going on. What it would change, I think, is what you see as the appropriate emotions and also the possible realm of actions that you might take in relationship to what reality is in life and in your relationships with other people. Step 4, define what the terms mean to you as opposed to what. In my episode on the dogma of atheism, I had a long comment thread with Jack Sirius, not to be confused with Everything Voluntary Jack, who was featured in that episode. Jack Sirius and I talked about definitions. He wrote, "Maybe this is a result of living in a podcast YouTube world for too many years, but in my own experience, it's that coming across a definition, especially a definition of a very large and very abstract concept, just stops me dead in my tracks. If I'm reading a textbook or listening to an academic at a conference, then I expect specialized language, including definitions or neologisms, which I love. But even in that context now, I almost always get hung up on the definitions. For whatever reason, they set off my own urge to become hypercritical, and I end up staring at the print definition or into the void and thinking of all those semantic, logical, historical weaknesses in the damn definition while formulating a right proper put-down. In conversation, when anyone starts defining terms, I subconsciously shift from conversation mode to debate mode, which of course is not a bad thing, so long as the other person realizes that for me, rational debate is a matter of life or death. I responded, I don't use definitions as something authoritative or even agreed upon. I just need to know what you mean when you use a word so that I can understand what you're saying about that concept. This is the prerogative and the responsibility of the person framing the question. If the word doesn't have the same meaning to the other person, I encourage them to translate it in their mind to the other person's definition or another word that captures the same concept. It's the concept that's important, not the word. As always, my use of upper and lowercase is deliberate as a way of differentiating between the etymology of the word, which I do in lowercase, rather than the social and historical context, which I do in uppercase. That goes for Gnostic or anarchist or Catholic, originally meaning all-inclusive, or federal as a bottom-up coalition of sovereign entities. I don't think that we should let them steal these concepts from us because we don't have any words to describe them. And maybe there's a distinction to be made with lowercase words that address Neferhotep's idea that sovereign individuals should never use I am statements followed by a noun. Maybe that is more important for proper nouns. So I would define reality, uppercase, as that which has no opposite, simply what is. The absence of reality is illusion, but that doesn't oppose it. It's just not there. Step 5, and I'm going to end with this step because it's the one that requires your input in order to move forward from there. This is expand the realm of possible answers. Treat each one as a hypothesis, not as an answer, but this is your theory. There have been several people who have posted responses on different ones, and I don't necessarily disagree with what they're saying as a hypothesis, but they say it with certainty, as if, oh, I know, this is it, this is the answer. And that shuts things down right away, and really, there is no way you can know whether that is the traditional answers that come from religions or whether that is a theory of your own. Either way, I think that for an actual exploration, you have to define first what's possible as possible. Jeff has posted in the comment thread a really interesting article that he linked from Dark Futura on intellectual vanity, the lost art of admitting uncertainty. And that person starts with, our current day and age has devolved into a sad state where people have lost the ability to reason or argue properly. This has put all discourse on a flimsy footing. In a recent article, I invoked the famous maxim about the wise man being he who could hold two opposing thoughts in his mind at the same time. But the other major ability lost to this generation is the humility of admitting uncertainty. This is the heart of the argument. Before pros and cons, evidence for and against can be presented, you need to have a realm of what's possible, and that needs to be agreed that that is logically possible. So I'm going to start with the standard definition of reality, and for that I went to Merriam-Webster, and the only part of it that didn't include a portion of the word reality in it. Are there no standards anymore? Really, if you can have a dictionary that is defying the first law of defining, which is you can't repeat a form of that word and call it a definition. Anyway, they say something that is neither derivative nor dependent but exists necessarily. I would change necessarily to essentially, what exists in essence of itself. I would posit the generally accepted definition of reality as that which is confirmed by the sensory perceptions of more than one person. When something happens that could be unreal, the first question is, did you see that? So What the starting point is of reality is shared perception. What is outside of our solitary minds is objectively real. What's inside is subjective and open to question as reality. Any experience, from quantum vibrations to alien abduction, is still evaluated by this measure with the mutually perceived world as given evidence of what's real. Is that understanding of reality a given where any additional reality needs to be consistent with it? I think there's one possibility where that would not be true. If we are not separate minds perceiving independently, then shared perception is not proof of reality. So that doesn't say what reality is, but it says that this is not reality, duh. And so that opens up the possibility of reality being something that is inconsistent with the world. That what is reality can be something that exists, but the world can be something that does not. As a scientific theory, it fits all the data points. All phenomena can be explained through this theory. There's nothing that happens in a dream that isn't possible, right? And how would you, if you were in something and you were trying to prove to yourself that it wasn't a dream, how would you do that? What would be the evidence of that? And likewise, if you were trying to figure out that something was a dream, how would you prove that? Where would you look for your evidence? So I'm not trying to get any kind of agreement on that. I'm not trying to get a belief in that. What I'm trying to do today is get agreement that it is possible. And if you have an argument for why it is logically not possible, I think speak now or forever take it seriously. Don't hold your peace, but take it seriously, because to dismiss an argument as if the person posing it just isn't even worth your attention or your time to argue with, that is an underhanded way of winning an argument. It needs to be deflected through logic and facts, and that's what I want to do here. To go back to the importance, this isn't a matter of life and death. This is a matter beyond life and death. It's something that determines whether you can change everything by changing your mind. And it looks at whether love is a foolish thing, only to be ending in loss and death for one or the other of you, but is fear something that is as real as love? That's the question we're looking at. I'm going to read what A Course in Miracles says about what is death. And this is what Everything Voluntary Jack dismisses as New Age, wishful thinking, spirituality, light, airy-fairy superstition. I would like to engage on the concepts and tell me if you find something in them that is contradictory. But if it's not contradictory within its own premise, then we need to examine it as one possibility. It writes, "Death is the central dream from which all illusions stem. It is the one fixed, unchangeable belief of the world that all things in it are born only to die. In the perception of the universe as God created it, it would be impossible to think of him as loving. For who has decreed that all things pass away, ending in death and disappointment and despair, can be but feared. He holds your little life in his hand but by a thread, ready to break it off without regret or care, perhaps today. Or if he waits, still is the ending certain. Who loves such a God knows not of love, because he has denied that life is real. Death has become life's symbol. His world is now a battleground where contradiction reigns and opposites make endless war. Where there is death, is peace impossible. The reality of death is firmly rooted in the belief that God's Son is a body. And if God created bodies, death would indeed be real. But God would not be loving. Death is indeed the death of God if God is love. And the last to be overcome will be death, quoting from the Bible. Of course, without the idea of death, there is no world. In death are all illusions born. The inconsistencies, the compromise, and the rituals the world fosters in its vain attempts to cling to death and yet to think love real are mindless magic, ineffectual and meaningless. God is, and in him all created things must be eternal. Do you not see that otherwise he has an opposite, and fear would be as real as love? But while death may be the last to be overcome, it is certainly not the place to start. I think that the place to start is with those things that don't make you afraid at all. And this is what I call those synchronicities. And I think it's what the Course refers to as miracles. It's when those things happen where you say, wow, what are the chances that this person and I would both have this idea that this would happen at the same time? And that's, I think, those little clues that make you suspect maybe it's possible. Maybe this is a dream. So argue with me here and play with me here. Play is the operative word because considering the possibility that love is real should be fun. And to prove that, I have finally tobogganed to the end of Tonica's Visceral Adventures Meme-a-Lanch, and I've posted 2 that are of Christmas on my Substack. One of them is a cutout of a nativity scene that says, 2 vicious Tyrannosaurus fighting over a running table saw, and once you see that, you can never unsee it. The other one has 6 boxes, and it says, gifts I would give you if I could. 1, all the time you need to do all the things you want to do. 2, the apology you deserve but never got. 3, the ability to talk to animals. 4, a feeling of peace so profound it makes you a bit sleepy. 5, permission to be imperfect. And 6 has 2 boxes, freedom from fear and a fun pair of socks. This is the year of Christmas, with little baby Buddha Christ being born all over the place. So let's enjoy this year and use it as a time of exploration and our own experiments in truth. And as I started with song lyrics, so will I end. This is from Jose Gonzales with Stay Alive. There's a rhythm to Rush these days, where the lights don't move and the colors don't fade, leaves you empty with nothing but dreams, in a world gone shallow, in a world gone lean. There is a truth and it's on our side. Dawn is coming, open your eyes. Dawn is coming, open your eyes. For another bite of the reality sandwich, here is one on Daniel Pinchbeck called In the Context of All Being One, and this one talks about A Course in Miracles, Rudolf Steiner, and reality, especially our relationship to each other, called And the Flesh Was Made Word. And on my Substack, I will post the cheetah one. Thank you for watching.